Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Chris Nicholas is the creative director of Sumwot, a marketing agency who work with ethical brands. Chris says that if he could give some advice to his younger self, it would be to start networking earlier. Thank you very much for being my podcast guest today, Chris.
Thank you, Liz. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, your LinkedIn profile describes you as being a creative director and marketing strategist, but have you always worked in the field of marketing? What's your career journey been?
Oh, that's a great question. What has my career journey been? Yes, I suppose I have in some shape or form. My sort of very sort of first proper job was marketing musical instruments. Those terrible things that you used to have at school, those Alos recorders,
Yes.
the company I worked for, they were the ones that inflicted so much pain on parents up and down the land by being the main distributor of Alos recorders, so the EastEnders theme, etc. So yes, I was involved with that for a number of years, and that was I created their first colour brochure for said musical instruments. But they didn't just do recorders; they did strings for guitars, saxophones, guitars, all the whole remit, drums. Again, the bane of many parents' lives. So yes, basically, I had a job to wind up parents, and that was that. But doing marketing for them. So that was sort of the first job, and then my kind of real awakening to the world of creativity and marketing and other things happened in my next job, which was I was very fortunate to work with a gentleman called John McCarthy, and John is ex-M&C Saatchi, and he set up a little agency, and I became the account director manager there, working with just amazing clients and learning so much. I worked there for about 6-7 years, and yeah, it was amazing. I worked with big brands like BSI, Robert Bosch Group, and everything in between. Sort of doing their kind of whole rebrands. We did a whole thing for British Standards Institute. We used to do their brochure, which was represented in 86 countries around the world. So I kind of oversaw bringing all that together and things. So yeah, it was great times, and I learned so much. And to be honest, John, I still speak to on a weekly basis, and he's still a very good friend. I still keep in contact, and he's still doing what he's doing, and often we work together on projects. So yeah, it's great. So that's sort of step two, and then unfortunately the recession hit, and I'm a man of a certain age, which there was a couple in quick succession, and unfortunately it didn't work out, and so I got made redundant from that role. I did other things to sort of pay the mortgage in between, but then I got another role in a contract publishing company, and so my clients then, similar role to what I'd done before, were people like Vauxhall Motors, Flybe Airlines, and Chevrolet, and that was overseeing the production and making sure everything was on time for these magazines that were sent out for people who own Vauxhalls or Chevrolets, or if you flew on a Flybe airline flight, we were the ones that were in the back of the seat. That was the brochure. So they were our things, but unfortunately they don't seem to do that so much more now. Cascotting, and I believe Flybe Airlines is no longer. So that was again, and that wasn't for too long actually. That was about another year, and then unfortunately, sort of September the 11th happened, and obviously that had massive ramifications for so many businesses, including the airline industry, obviously. So from that point of view, I got made redundant again. I was getting quite good at it, and then from there I decided to go out on my own, and slowly but surely, through a very good friend of mine who I met, which is an interesting story really. I suppose I think perhaps later in the conversation we come back to this, but to do with networking. I actually just attended an event, and I met a lady who was giving a presentation by the name of Yvonne Fuchs. Absolutely amazing presentation on branding. and I don't know what happened, but something in my brain, I kind of got over my Britishness and actually went and spoke to Yvonne after she'd given a presentation. I took a card and I wrote to her about 2 weeks later saying that I've been made redundant, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. And she said, well, do you want to meet for a coffee? And that was the kind of start of it. And from that point on, I haven't really looked back. It's been, she sort of encouraged me. She said, well, you know, I think you could do this for yourself and build a little team around you and create your own little agency. You know, what do you think? And obviously, sort of a bit nervous, but slowly but surely, my first client was an HIV/AIDS charity, and doing the marketing for those guys and organising a website for them, working alongside Yvonne. And another amazing designer called Richard Tomlin. And from there it kind of snowballed, and it was around about the same sort of time as sort of Facebook, Twitter, all those kind of things were starting to get sort of grow, and a lot of people were coming on board. And so initially we were called Somewhat Social because we used to do a lot of kind of social media stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, it was back when you could post something and you would get an amazing reaction because you know, you didn't have to pay to play like you do these days.
Yeah.
So it was a different world, but yeah, we used to do a lot of, you know, Facebook campaigns and Twitter campaigns, and a lot of LinkedIn training as well. That we did a lot of that, which was great fun. And then slowly but surely that kind of evolved. We didn't like doing the social so much because it was a lot more pay to play, and it didn't seem as fun as it was. With, you know, sort of trying out these new platforms and seeing what works and what didn't work. It's now very much around, you know, pay to play. And we just didn't enjoy it so much. So we kind of pivoted, and we're now just called Sumwot, and we do a lot more ethically driven kind of marketing for companies that are of that persuasion, and a lot of things around sort of customer experiences and making sure that the people, when they interact with a brand, get like the best possible version of that brand. So bit of a journey, but yeah, that's kind of brought us up to where we are today.
Yeah. So how long was it between you sort of starting out on your own and starting to build a team?
Oh goodness, a long time, if I'm honest. And yeah, there's been bumps in the road where, you know, you haven't worked with someone so much, and you kind of, you know, we just let them go, unfortunately. But there's I'd say it's, oh crikey, it certainly wasn't in the sort of first sort of 3-4 years. It was very much, if there was work, then it was working with freelancers, who are still friends and who occasionally we still work with as well. So that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't sort of straight away.
Now, you said that you like to work with ethical businesses. So what is it about them that makes them ethical, and what is it that's drawn you to that sector?
Okay, that's a great question. I think to answer that, I'd say what's drawn me to that sector is probably my own values, I suppose, and the fact that, you know, I get great enjoyment out of reading about, you know, what we can do to help the environment and how we can make the world, you know, a better place through more sustainable practices. So that's kind of what started it. And then to answer what makes them sustainable or ethical in some shape or form, one of our clients at the moment is called Vin, or Vin.1, who are the world's first repairable sneakers. Which kind of straight away sums up why they are ethical. Obviously, the sneaker industry or the trainer industry is, you know, in some senses massively wasteful, and there's a lot of greenwashing goes on in that industry. And again, they make amazing trainers or sneakers that the heel is replaceable, so you can actually take the heel off and replace it. And if you wanted to, you could switch it up for your outfit on a night out or something. You can change the colour, and you can also change the counter heel, which, when I try and explain it to people, that's the bit that when you can't be bothered to undo your shoelaces and you press down the bit at the back. It's that bit that you can change as well. So they're amazing. They're Italian leather. They can trace a huge amount of the different elements that go into the shoe production, from like the tannery in Germany through to the cork that's used in the sole from Portugal, and etc. And when you finish with the sneaker, you can actually send it back to them, and they'll either give you sort of like a voucher towards your next pair, and also they'll sort of take it apart and use it in something else. So yeah, that's the kind of client. And
Yeah.
then we also work with the oldest North Indian restaurant in Covent Garden, or actually not in Covent Garden. They're in the UK. They were founded in 1946,
Yeah.
and they do amazing things. They fed, I think it was over 200,000 people during lockdown,
Yeah.
homeless people during lockdown, which was absolutely amazing. And they're very, very humble people who work there. And the owners, Amrit, in fact, got an OBE for his services to charity in the last list, and he got to meet the king, etc., which was good. But yeah, they're amazing. So it's often, I suppose is it our own way of defining what ethical is? Possibly, but there's often what other people would see as well as like that's pretty good going. It's not sort of big tobacco, etc.
Yeah. So those two companies you just mentioned, of the sort of clothing industry and the food industry,
Yeah.
are there particular sectors that you tend to work with?
We've done quite a lot with food. That would be one. The fashion one, or Vin, is the first one that we've actually worked with in that sector. We've recently been doing some stuff with the cleaning sector as well. So people who use lots of steam to clean things, etc., rather than sort of nasty chemicals, and they use sort of different modern machines to do that. But there isn't per se anything that's exactly, we only specialise in one particular sector. As long as they've got some form of ethical element running through them, then we're quite happy to work with them.
So how do you help your clients? They come to you with what sort of problems, and what do you solve for them?
It's a great question. It's a bit of a funny one because it's often they've tried lots of different things. And we get quite a lot of people who've tried to do lots of things with social media, and then they're finding, like so many people now, it's becoming quite expensive as a marketing tactic, and often they're a bit frustrated and not quite sure what to do. And we'll sit with them and have a chat and say, what do you want to achieve, and what's worked in the past. And it's so funny. I mean, honestly, it must be. I'm sure you probably find the same when you speak to so many amazing business people. Is the best form of marketing, and it has been for thousands, if not tens of thousands of years, is referral. From people saying, eat from this tree because these berries won't kill you, or go to this watering hole because the water's good, or whatever it may be. And that's referral. And I think there's a lot of that to be done, and I think a lot of people miss that. They think, oh no, we should be doing Facebook, be doing this, we should be doing that, and they do work. Don't get me wrong, those platforms do work, but you just have to pay for them. And again, some people are fine with that, and some people are not. But I think what's interesting, or we find fun, is often the low hanging fruit, which is so kind of missed. So it's things like, the people you get all your work from, have you ever asked them, could they recommend you to others? And the amount of times we hear that, oh no, well, why would we do that? And you say, well, that's the door's already half open if it's someone's recommending you. And there's different ways and means of doing it. And we love to kind of mixing it up so you can do things where, one of our great tactics is using something like LinkedIn, where you can get, information from LinkedIn, you can see connections, second connections or whatever it might be, and you can ask your friend or someone you worked with in the past, oh, I see that you know so and so, can you introduce me? Which is a great tactic. Another great tactic is physically writing a letter, which sounds so like, oh, really? But it's a great tactic, and especially if you use something again like LinkedIn, where you could actually glean some information from that about that individual, and say, I've worked with Tom for X amount of years, and I know that you two have, you are connected, and then you start to list things off, and you write in a beautiful Conqueror paper, a handwritten letter, handwritten envelope, and a stamp rather than a franking machine, and you'd be amazed at the kind of things you can do. So, when clients come to us, it's often they're a bit frustrated. They perhaps want to re-engage with their clients, not quite sure how to do that. And we'll perhaps look at their website, see what they're doing, what they're not doing. Do they have an email list? Again, often a thing that's quite often overlooked. Just think, oh no, email doesn't work. Email's amazing. It always has been, and I'm sure it will be for many years to come, because if you do anything from shopping online, you need like an email address.
Yep.
And it's one of those things that people, along with social channels, is one of the things that people check every day,
Yeah.
morning, noon and night. So yeah, there's a myriad of different things why people will come to us, and there's a myriad of different things in how we can help them. And without sounding too sort of trite, but it's based on, you create a strategy and a plan around what people show to you and what they want to achieve, and they are kind of quite bespoke based on that.
Yeah. So let's have a chat about networking now then. So how do you use networking in your business?
Okay, so networking is, I think, if I was ever to give like the younger self a bit of advice, you often get asked, what would you say to your younger self? I think that would have been, we should have networked earlier.
Yeah.
Because I just think networking is absolutely amazing. I think it's that human condition. I'm sure there must be massive statistics to do with this, but most people don't like, standing up in public and talking. It's, I'd rather chop my own hands off and do that kind of thing. And I think we kind of fell into that situation. And as soon as we, again, through our friend John McCarthy, he introduced us to a networking group. And it was terrible. I remember going along thinking, I really don't want this to work because it shouldn't work. And I think that when I went and I did the standing up thing and spoke and stuff, and I didn't die, which was amazing. No one said anything nasty. It was amazing. And I could then see, I think straight away, someone said, "Oh, could I have a chat? I've got a client that might need your help." I was like, "Oh, okay." And it just kind of ballooned from there. And that same group I belong to now for 12 years.
Yeah.
And I go once a month. It's an evening thing. It's absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I get huge amounts out of that. And so I'd say regularly attending some form of networking thing that works for you. I think that's probably the key to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh no, you must go to something, even if you don't like it and you're not getting anything out of it." I'm like, okay. I think it's terrible, again, trite thing to say, but I almost found my tribe very, very quickly with that. And then other things like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just amazing, as long as you're not spammy and you're very kind of open about why you're doing something. And I think a lot of people sometimes, unfortunately, fall into that thing of just adding connections.
Yes, yeah.
And what they forget to do is to go back and say hello to the people that they've connected with, because they could have new jobs. There's all kinds of reasons, or reasons to go back and talk to these people, because as I say, they might be doing something completely new, and just a little nudge might be, "Oh, yeah, actually, you might be able to help with X, Y, and Z." Or the classic is, "Oh, I didn't know you did that."
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, there's all kinds of things, but also I've discovered online there's a great one called Lunch Club, which is AI based.
Yeah.
Which is invite only, but it's free and it's absolutely amazing. It's what you put on your profile is what the people you're matched with. So if you want to ask to meet jugglers, you'll be introduced to jugglers. But it's just a very, very cool thing. And I just think in general, we have a thing where we try and, or me personally, I try and introduce maybe one or two people a week to people.
Yes.
So I try and think about, I've heard someone needs some help with this, or someone needs some help with that, and it's amazing how quickly that can become massively rewarding, because you can then start to see how your connections are getting more out of a network, which is great. And in fact, there's a brilliant book that I read, which I recommend to everyone. In my opinion, is the best networking book, which is Friend of a Friend, and it's by it's by David Burkus. It's quite tricky to get hold of. I think it's an American book, but they do occasionally have copies of it on eBay. But it's very, very cool.
I've not heard of that, so I will look out for that book. And I must say that you are great at introducing people, because you've introduced me to a number of people who've gone on to be podcast guests, which is wonderful.
Oh, marvellous. There you go. That's very cool to hear.
Now, you mentioned that you've been a member of the same networking group for 12 years, which is brilliant. Do you think it's important to be consistent like that and to keep once you find a group that you like, to keep going to the same group?
I think so, purely because they get to know who you are. And I think the other thing is, I think when you first start out, you almost fall into the trap of, what am I going to get out of this? And that might be like I might be too young, a bit naive. And what you soon learn is that isn't how it works. It's, to give an example, one of the people who ran the group retired, and he'd been saying for probably about 11 of those 12 years, we should really try and get you into one of the companies that he worked with. And I said, okay, that's no problem. And in fact, I went for a couple of meetings with these people over those 11 years, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
PhD wasn't right at that moment in time. And just on the last meeting, I happened to say to him about something, and he went, oh, that would really solve what they're trying to do. Would you mind going to talk to them? I know you've spoken to them before. I said, yeah, no problem at all. And I spoke to them, and I'm now happy to say that we're now working with them.
Brilliant.
But, you're so right. It's that consistency. It's that thing of just turning up and being consistent and doing what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
I think is huge. It's a real big thing.
Yeah. It can definitely be a slow burn, can't it? It's not one of those things where you should go in and expect to get something from it right away.
Completely, yeah. It's I think that's a kind of rookie error. And again, you'll be amazed if you give lots of good leads, then I think good being the operative word rather than just sort of like, here's the first page of Google where you're asking for solicitors I found in your area. You're like, okay, I don't think that's really good work. But I think if you're consistent, and rather than trying so hard that you're trying to give something all the time, and you actually just give quality rather than quantity, then I think that's a thing that it does come back to you, but you just got to have faith, without being too woo-woo in the universe, that will actually happen. So
So is networking something that you suggest to your clients at all?
Oh, completely, 100%, absolutely. And also we often teach them how to use sort of LinkedIn in a more proactive way, rather than congratulations, you've discovered LinkedIn. I'm now going to sort of spam you and put loads of stuff up on LinkedIn. You'll be amazed. I think it's so funny, like just doing lots of little things that people wouldn't expect you to do, but in a good way. So to give an example, we often, after we've finished the project, we'll often send like a nice card or something to a client. And when I say a nice card, it's just nice enough for them to actually physically have it up on their wall. And it goes into the realms of kind of corporate gifts as well, of it might not seem like traditional kind of networking, but actually by doing corporate gifts, and our thing is, and again it's only a personal preference, our thing is that we don't actually put our own branding on the corporate gift. We just do it as a very, very nice gift, but just leave it, because in our opinion, if you, for argument's sake, you send like a bottle opener, but a very nice one in a wooden case and stuff, and you've got your brand all over it, personally, that's like, that we'll just pop that in the sideboard. It'll never come out. Whereas if it's beautiful and it just comes out, and someone then says, "Oh my goodness, that's nice. Where did you get that?" And I think personally that is a form of networking in my, it's building a brand, etc. And I think that's really important. So to answer your original question, I've rambled on a bit, but I think teaching clients things like that, be it I think we should do some very high-end umbrellas, but just in the corporate colours, and you give them to your best clients, then that, in my opinion, is a form of networking, because it's showing the value of your business to potential clients and further down the line. So,
absolutely. Well, thank you ever so much for being my guest. I've really enjoyed our conversation. And so finally, how can people find you if they want to know more about you and about Sumwot?
The best place is just www.sumwot, which is SUMWOT.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Chris. And best of luck with Sumwot and, of course, your networking for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much, Liz. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for involving me. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, Please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.